Hello and welcome. What really happens when the body dies? Not as a theory or something we talk about from a distance, but from a real, deep place of looking. Most of the time we think of death as something far away, something that might happen later. But if we're honest, death is already here. It has always been close, sitting quietly next to every breath we take. We're taught to see our body as who we are, as the center of life, the container for our identity. But when the body disappears, when the senses stop working and even thoughts stop coming, what is left? That's the question that really matters. Not to answer with beliefs, but to stay with, to look into fully. From the moment we're born, we begin picking up pieces of identity, our name, our language, our beliefs, our roles in the world. We start to build an image of who we are. We say, "This is me," and we point to the face in the mirror, the job we have, the past we remember. But none of these are truly who we are. They're just stories we've learned to act out. The body moves and feels. The mind thinks and reacts. But the part that sees all of that, the awareness that watches, it doesn't come from the body or the mind. It's been there before the thought "I exist" ever showed up, and it will still be here when even that thought is gone. Most of us are afraid of death deep down, even if we don't talk about it. That fear comes from the mind, because the mind knows death is the end for it. The ego, the story it has created about who you are, will end when the body dies. But you won't. That's because you're not the body. You're not the ego. You are the consciousness that lives through it all, and consciousness doesn't die. Death is like leaving a cocoon. It's not the end of you. It's just the end of the character you've been playing. The story finishes, but the one who was watching the story, the real you, continues. You are the player, not the game. Death is like putting the controller down and going back home. And what is that home? It's your true form. It's where your soul came from God, from Source. Returning to that isn't scary. It's peaceful. It's natural. But if you look at death from the mind's view, yes, it's the end, and that makes it feel scary. The mind fears disappearing. But when you look at it from your true self as pure awareness, it feels like coming home. Some people say religions made up the idea of the afterlife just to make people feel better about death. That's okay. It makes sense if you believe we're only the body. But if you've ever paused and felt the quiet awareness behind your thoughts, even just once, then you know something deeper exists. You know there is something that doesn't change, something that stays when everything else fades. That something is you, not your name, not your thoughts, not your personality, but the still, silent awareness that watches it all. When the body dies, so do fear, worry, and pain. What's left is just consciousness, your true nature. And don't worry, you won't become some lonely spirit floating in space. That's just another idea from the mind. When the body is gone, you return to the one thing that's always here. You don't disappear. You merge. You become the whole. You are part of something far beyond what the mind can imagine, something that exists beyond time and space, because it is both. You are that. Yes, the body ends. The character ends. But that's not a bad thing. It's actually a blessing. Imagine if your body never died. You'd watch everyone else come and go. You'd live through endless wars and heartbreaks. The body isn't made for forever. It has limits. And those limits are a gift. Even if nobody ever died, the world would fall into chaos. There would be no balance. Life would feel heavy. But you, the real you, the awareness behind the body, has no beginning. And what has no beginning can never have an end. Think of it like numbers. Numbers go on forever in both directions, positive and negative. There's no end. But in the middle, there's zero. That's the point where we experience the body. Life in a body is just a moment, a pause between the endless flow of what you really are. We can also see this truth in nature. In a jungle, when old trees fall and die, it can look sad. But those trees were blocking the sunlight. And now, with their shade gone, new plants can grow. Life always makes room for more life. Death is part of that. It's not a mistake. It's not a tragedy. It's how new things are born. This isn't something you have to believe in. It's not about holding on to a comforting idea. It's something you can check for yourself right now. Be still. Let thoughts come and go. Let the body feel whatever it feels. Don't grab onto anything. Just notice what stays. That quiet, steady presence, that awareness, is not created by the body. It's not produced by the brain. It's the space where body and brain appear and disappear. It was here before you had a name, and it will still be here when your name is forgotten. Many people believe that the brain creates consciousness, like it's a machine that produces awareness. But that's only because we've made the same mistake with identity. We see the body, and we assume that it's the source of who we are. But in truth, the body and brain are like tools. They're incredibly useful, but they're not the center of life. They appear within consciousness. They don't create it. When the tool stops working, when the body dies, consciousness doesn't stop. It just no longer expresses itself through that tool. Like light shining through a window. When the window breaks, the light doesn't die. It's still there, just not shining through that shape anymore. And once we start to see this, death becomes less frightening. Not because we tell ourselves happy stories, but because the old fear starts to seem false. What ends was never really you. What falls away was only ever a costume. There's a deep peace that can show up in that knowing. Not a peace made of ideas, but one that comes when there's nothing left to cling to. The part of us we call ego, that little voice that says me, mine, I am, can't follow us past the moment of death. It fades away in the light of truth, not because it's destroyed, but because it was never truly solid to begin with. It was just a pattern of habits, thoughts, and reactions acting like a real self. People often ask, where do we go when we die? But this question is built on the idea that we are a separate person that needs to go somewhere else. What if that idea is wrong? What if there's no me that travels and no place to arrive? What if the truth is not a journey at all, but something that's already here, right now, underneath everything? Awareness doesn't move. It doesn't travel through space or time. It just is, timeless, still, awake. Even now, if you look closely not at thoughts, but at what's watching the thoughts, you'll notice that this awareness has no shape, no edges, no place where it starts or ends. It's not inside your head. It's not outside either. It's just here. And this here isn't personal. It doesn't belong to you or to anyone else. It's the same space behind all eyes, behind all minds. Like the sky holding the weather, awareness holds every experience, thoughts, emotions, memories, and everything else. But the sky never becomes the weather. It just stays open. So when the weather changes, when the storm of identity comes and goes, the sky is untouched. That's what death is like. The storm clears. The sky remains. Some might ask, if we go on after death, why don't we remember our past lives? Why don't we know what comes next? But that question comes from the ego, which wants to keep the story going. It wants something to continue, to stay important. But real awareness doesn't care about stories. It doesn't care about memory or time. It doesn't need to be anyone. It just is. That's why when we stop thinking for a moment, when we drop into silence, we feel peace. That peace is what we are when the noise is gone. It's not an escape. It's the truth. Let's go even deeper. If you are not the body, not the thoughts, not the story, then what is truly alive right now? What is it that has watched you grow, watched your feelings come and go, your thoughts rise and fall? It's the same awareness that watches your dreams at night and your waking hours during the day. It doesn't change as you age. It doesn't get sick. It doesn't end. It's the steady background behind all the changes. And the more we connect with that, the less we fear what comes after this life. Not because we have the answers, but because we're resting in what doesn't change. We're resting in truth. We often talk about awakening as if it's something rare or far away. But really, awakening just means remembering what's already true, that we are not what comes and goes. And there's nothing that helps us see that more clearly than thinking deeply about death. When everything is taken away, when all we thought we were disappears, what's left? The mind will want to answer, but the answer isn't in words. You have to look directly, not to find something new, but to notice what's been here all along. Even this life right now is like a passing dream inside awareness, and dreams end. That's just their nature. But what never ends is the dreamer. The deep self that watches the dream is untouched by anything that happens inside it. Whether joy or sorrow, success or pain, birth or death, it all appears and disappears. But you, the true you, remain unchanged. Not because you are protected, but because you were never really in the story to begin with. So again, we return to the question, what remains when the body falls away? Silence. Not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of pure being. Not a silence of loss, but a silence that is full, whole, and complete. There's nothing left to chase. Nothing left to fear. No more gap between who you are and what you're looking for. Only presence. Only awareness. Only this moment, which never really began and will never truly end. And if that sounds strange, just notice something simple. Right now, you are aware. You are aware of sounds, aware of your breath, aware of your thoughts. But this awareness has no name, no color, no boundary. You can't hold it, but you know it's there. It's always been there. And that's who you are, not your story, not your face, not your role in the world, but the awareness that never leaves. You can't die because you were never really born. The body was born. The personality appeared. But you, the awareness, you were always here, and you will always be here, beyond time, beyond thought, beyond death. And once you really feel that, not just believe it, but know it deeply, you stop fearing the end. Not because you understand what happens next, but because you realize there's nothing to end. You stop clinging to things. Not because you stop caring, but because you're grounded in something that doesn't come or go, and you stop pretending to be something small. Not because you reject life, but because you remember that what you are is too big, too deep, too free to ever be limited to one body or one story. So when the body falls away, you don't vanish. You return not to a place, but to your true nature. The ocean no longer tries to be a wave. The sky no longer tries to be a cloud. And you no longer pretend to be just a person. You are home without moving at all. You are free without ever being trapped. And you are eternal, not because your story goes on, but because you were never separate from the source of all things. That is what remains. That is what you are. Thank you for watching.